What's up guys, Two Bottles here, and I've got a little hack for you today. This is for all your resin printed guys that you've already finished painting, but now you want to magnetize them like the rest of your army. I've got a bunch of minis with no magnets in the bottom of them, and trying to magnetize all of my army has created a problem for my guys that I've already finished painting, especially with no magnets on the bottom. I've tried a bunch of crap, like trying to glue a magnet to the bottom of them, but inevitably the magnet starts to curl off, start to come off, and then they do weird things on the table like that. Not to mention they're way up off the table as comparative to your other friends. So to try to combat this, on these guys, these bases are from Cobalt Keep. They've got a 10 by 2 millimeter magnet in the bottom of them, and they're substantially strong. They hold pretty well inside the box. So what I started doing is printing the bases with the hole already in it. Now these are a 5 by 2 millimeter magnet. I have a lot of these magnets. But the 5 by 2 millimeter magnet is just as strong as the Cobalt Keep. They'll hold pretty much anything, but I tried to learn by just trying to cut off the base, printing a new base, and then trying to salvage that, but I kept breaking the guys off at the piece, so I didn't want to do that. So what I thought I would do, so I've got a couple of very special drill bits here, and I'll show you the process of how deep you need to drive, a couple extra tools to help mitigate some losses. I did a test where I drilled this hole for a 6 by 3 millimeter magnet, and I found that magnet works pretty well inside that hole. 6 by 3 is about a 1/4 inch. They're fairly close. The hole you'll drill will be a little bit bigger, so it gives you more space for glue. So I'd recommend trying to do this on some guys that if you had to reprint or so, it wouldn't be terrible. But let's get to drilling these guys. First, we gotta make a template. I've made lots of these templates in the past, but I'm going to show you how I do it. First, I take out a fine tip marker and I trace around the base. Then for me, it's easier to find the center by making a corner first. To make a square around the object, I just make 2 more parallel lines. Now, if you just connect the corners with 2 lines, you got the center of that circle. With my template sketched, I just cut it out. Sometimes I find when I make a template it's a little smaller than the base, so I just eyeball it and put it somewhere in the middle. It's usually good enough. With a fine tip marker, I just put a dot in the middle. Next, you're going to need to acquire a few more tools. The first are some center drill bits, and the second are some shaft lock collars. I keep these around for machine work, but you'll probably have to pick them up at your local hardware store or Amazon. A center drill is a hardened drill bit that keeps the drill bit center without wandering like a normal drill bit does. You don't want to drill through your mini's base and up into the character. So make sure you check the length of your drill bit with how thick your base is. That's the point of the shaft collars, to stop it from drilling through. The next bit's a little terrifying, so just take your time. Don't put any more pressure than you need to. You might crack the base in half. Slowly drill until the shaft collar touches the bottom of the base. Next, you can send this way too far. All we need is just the width of this 1/4 inch. So we're going to use another shaft lock to just barely graze it. And typically going in that much isn't going to cut too deep into these, but most of my bases are fairly thick, so we will put a shaft lock on this one and send this one in. Inside of this shaft lock, you want to ensure that you send it on one of the flutes. One of the flutes is where you put the drill stop to be. This one is actually drilled all the way through it, but since it hasn't been based, I can fix it. To demonstrate the last bit, I go ahead and pre-drill one of my other bases. The last bit you need is an end mill. These are 4 flute bits, but you could buy a 2-bit as well. The whole point of drilling the 1/4-inch hole before was just to get the width. Now this will give us an exact square depth. This allows the magnet insertion to just be flush with the bottom. I can't stress this enough, you've got to take your time. It's going to want to twist in your hand and do all kinds of things. And as soon as it does, let go of the trigger. Just let it cut and bottom out the collar on the bottom of the base. Once it has, you've hit your depth. Being this was my first time with the end mill, I stopped a few times just to make sure the magnets were flush with the bottom. I had quite a few minis to finish up, so I just set them up like a factory. All of them get the center drill, then all of them get the drill bit, and then all of them the end mill. Checking with a magnet just to make sure they work. I found when drilling with resin, sometimes it clogs up with resin dust, so I just keep a cheap little paintbrush to brush off the ends of the drill bit. I also brush out the holes just to make sure when the magnets go in, they sit flush. I clean up the mess with my vacuum and then I get ready for all the magnets. I keep this base to keep control of the polarity of all my minis. All my minis have the same polarity, that way they don't accidentally connect to each other when they're being transported. I use a combination of cheap dollar store glue and this fast activator by Bob Smith Industries. This project only took a couple of hours. In my storage boxes, I just keep a metal sheet on the bottom, that way the magnets stick to them. Well, that puts a lid on this project. Come back next time for more. Soon I'll show you a way that you don't need to drill the bottom of your bases. You can modify them in 3D Builder before you even print them out. Thanks again.